was a sobering moment at the White House last night and a stark reminder of the deadly consequences of open border policies. President Trump recognizing Patty Morin, whose daughter, Rachel, was raped and murdered by an illegal alien from El Salvador in 2023.
Patty, stand up, Patty. Please. Yes, her incredible daughter. And her daughter's looking down on Patty today. This was some day for you, and we appreciate it, Patty, and we're all with you 100%. And you are indeed an angel mom.
The president offering support to Patty, who earlier in the day joined reporters in the briefing room recounting in raw, emotional terms her daughter's last moments.
She has 5 children. We've walked the trail for the last 25 years that we've lived in Maryland. It's a safe place for our family. She was not planning on dying. She wasn't planning on walking to her death. She was planning on going to the grocery store with her girls afterwards. There wasn't 1 inch of her body that didn't have some kind of injury, whether it's bruising, broken bones, contusions, the scratches. Why are we not protecting the American citizens? It's just common sense. Why are we not protecting our children?
This as the administration defends their deportation of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, with new court records showing his wife filed domestic violence allegations against him.
This woman came into court twice, getting a restraining order against him, saying it's horrific. He had beaten her. He had punched her in the eye. He had ripped her clothes off. What causes a young mother to do this? Her child was with her. She talked about her child in the petition for an injunction for safety.
But Garcia's wife now supports her husband, telling Newsweek, quote, "After surviving domestic violence in a previous relationship, I acted out of caution after a disagreement with Kilmar by seeking a civil protective order in case things escalated." Meanwhile, guys, Democrats like Senator Chris Van Hollen continue to defend Abrego Garcia.
Red line on the transporter, Mr. Scott.
Transporter, do not engage.
It's too late. They're beaming now.
Do you read me, Starfleet? Override us! Pull them back!
Starfleet, boost your matter game. We need more signal. Oh my God.
We had a lot of options for what to do the show on today, but we're in a particularly good mood, so we're just going to roll with Katy Perry isn't an astronaut. Why not? It's so bitchy and fun. And ladies and gentlemen, let's freaking rock and roll. Today is Thursday, April 17th, 2025. White House reveals they have the ability to manipulate time and space and to atomize all distance. What does that mean? That means that Donald Trump can teleport things, I think. I'm not sure. We're going to talk with some of the experts today on that. Ashton Forbes will be joining the program, and why not? Why not? Can we teleport things? Not exactly certain. Did the space flight with Katy Perry get faked? We are going to really deep dive into that. And again, we think we have verifiable evidence that at the very least, this massive feminist iconic moment that they've been telling you about, this girl boss insufferable news super cycle of how special it is to have Katy Perry be an astronaut, it's all fake. We know that. We can say this with certitude. It's fake. We have the actual data, we have the footage, and we can prove it. It's not real, and it's probably not what you think it is, okay? Also, ladies and gentlemen, this whole debunking of this Maryland dad thing is great. It's great. We have new data on it from CNN of all places. It's another 80-20, 90-10 issue for Democrats, and they're falling right into Trump's trap. And he got him yesterday. We were live for it, and we're going to recover and cover all of this. Also, more breaking news on Leticia James, breaking right now. Not good. Not good for Big Tish, ladies and gentlemen. John James will be joining the program. He's a member of Congress, but also will be running against Gretchen Whitmer for the governor of Michigan. Again, as I said, Ashton Forbes will be on the program, along with White House Faith Council members Paula White and Jenny Korn joining the program. So let's freaking go today. I want to be a Brick House. I've partnered with Brick House mainly because of the name and because I love these products. But I saw Brick House. Wow, I'd like to be a Brick House. This morning, I can send the footage. This morning, I'm sitting there and I'm like, I do a workout every single morning. I have this teeny little like humble garage gym, right? I do a workout, and my kids come down every morning, and they see me working out, and now they like emulate the workout. It's so awesome. It's something that you can train. I get morning sunshine. We do our very best to say, wow, wait a second. I don't want my kids to follow in the path of like being perpetually sick, not getting their fruits and vegetables, like living sick, trapped lives. That's how they control you, actually. That's how they get you, right? It is freedom comes from being able to freely run a mile and lift something heavy and raise your own children and be free of like the chains that can actually pull you and weigh you down in life, literally and metaphorically. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're always like happy to talk about Brick House Nutrition. Field of Greens is a Make America Healthy Again promise of making sure that you feel your best. Field of Greens is this very simple, very easy, very realistic way to get your fruits and vegetables, whole fruits and vegetables, in this product. Just stir it into anything that you are drinking, and you make sure that you get a healthy head start on the day. Every fruit and vegetable in Field of Greens is doctor selected for specific health benefits. There's a healthy heart group, kidneys, lungs, metabolism, healthy weight group, something that I'm working on because we're in the studio day and night. Like, gotta get your sunshine, gotta get moving. I'm literally standing here, but I'm not moving. So, Field of Greens keeps me locked in, even in a locked-in news cycle. Make sure that you head on over to fieldofgreens.com today. Use my discount code, Benny, for 20% off. Fieldofgreens.com, code Benny Johnson, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. Trump administration is locking in. We got a couple of fun breaking stories off the top here that I want to begin with, but since we spent the entire day talking about Leticia James yesterday, this is fun. The Daily Caller went to Big Tish's house in Virginia, and we're able to expose that Big Tish ain't living there. Now, we had on experts yesterday, please put the tweet up. We had on experts yesterday that told us that this is, of course, not only a federal crime, but also the same crimes that she was trying to get Trump on. President Trump was going to be put away for the rest of his life for falsifying documents, for inflating his assets, for lying about his real estate properties. Yet here is slumlord hundredaire Tish James's scummy houses in Virginia that she's listed as her primary residence, and there are, who knows, somebody living there. But it's definitely not her. She's committing real estate fraud here. Here's one of the fun video exchanges. Let's go.
Hi there. I'm a reporter with the Daily Caller News Foundation.
Goodbye. You're trespassing.
I'm sorry.
Trespassing. My kids are out here.
I understand. We mean no trouble. We're just curious who the occupants of the home are,
because
there's
about who's occupants. That's none of your business.
Well, there are connections. There are connections to New York Attorney General Leticia James.
Doesn't matter. You're trespassing.
Are you related to Leticia James?
Do you know her?
You're trespassing. Go in the house.
Do you know Leticia James? No? Okay. No comment. Thank you, ma'am.
Don't pull up to my house no more.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. You have a good one.
They seem wonderful. They seem so delightful. They did this again to another Tish James house in Virginia. This is the one that Big Tish has listed as her residence with her dad.
There's a car parked in the driveway.
But her dad's her husband.
No comment? Okay, who lives here?
Great. Who lives here, ma'am?
They're not sending their best.
Okay.
All right. So Big Tish is going to jail. I mean, I'm telling you, man, we had the experts on yesterday talking about it. We had white-collar criminal investigators on laying out all of the evidence. She clearly lied about her homes in order to get preferable mortgage rates, lied about the units inside of her house in order to rent out units and not have to pay taxes, fees on the extra units. Laura Loomer broke something like on this morning, where she has the photos of the extra units in the house. So she's lying about that. She's lying about her dad being her husband. Totally weird. Ilhan Omar officiated wedding there. All of it is very messy for Leticia James. And then, of course, the sign of every guilty person, she did fake phone calls when the media was asking her about this. Oh, what? No, I'm on the phone. It's great. So this is a moment where the hunters have become the hunted, and it's an exciting moment for us. Speaking of people who have hunted in their lives, meaning people who are the scum of the earth, people who are potential human smugglers, sex traffickers, domestic abusers. These are the individuals that the Democrats are defending on, again, another 90-10 issue in America. Democrats have gone to the mat for a criminal alien who has no right to be in our country, who was deported to his country of El Salvador. Looks like a great guy. I mean, really looks like a really special guy. And then now they've released the actual bombshells. They let Democrats walk right into the trap here, much like Leticia James. Like it's the exact same thing, right? Prosecute Trump for all the things that you're guilty of. Democrats, go defend the MS-13 gang member. Go make a huge public show of it. Go travel down to El Salvador, as Maryland Senator Chris Van Hollen has done. Here we go.
The airport in San Salvador a little while ago. I'm now en route into the city, looking forward to meeting with the team from the American Embassy. And I do want to thank our Foreign Service officers and the whole...
Yeah, shut up, dude. So this guy is going down to... He goes down to El Salvador to try and liberate the Maryland man. Let's go ahead and check in on who is this Maryland man exactly. DOJ releases documents showing that law enforcement has found definitive proof that Kilmar, by the way, his literal name's Kilmar Garcia, was considered gang affiliated. He was also a domestic abuser. He regularly beat his wife. The Democrats are doing everything they possibly can to get this MS-13 gang member terrorist back into the United States to beat more women. In November 2020, he hit me with his work boot. In August 2020, he hit me in the eye, leaving a purple eye. So this is who the Democrats are trading all of their political capital for. The White House was waiting for them to do what they do, which is to advocate for the criminals over the Americans, and then this is just a thing of beauty. What President Trump did yesterday was bring out Patty Morin, who's the mother of Rachel Morin, who was killed by an illegal immigrant in Maryland. Senator Chris Van Hollen has never spoken about this American who was slaughtered by his policies. Instead, he's traveling 3,000 miles in order to try and bring more criminals back into his state. These people are monsters. Here was the secret or special guest at the White House yesterday who was brought out. It was a, I guess you'd call it an angel mom, I think would be the correct term here. An angel mom to explain what her family has gone through at the hands of Democrat policies.
Why are we not protecting the American citizens? It's just common sense. Why are we not protecting our children? And to have a senator from Maryland who didn't even acknowledge or barely acknowledged my daughter and the brutal death that she endured, leaving her 5 children without a mother and now a grandbaby without a grandmother, so that he can use my taxpayer money to fly to El Salvador to bring back someone that's not even an American citizen. Why does that person have more right than I do, or my daughter, or my grandchildren? I don't understand this. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And
if you support, like, if you voted for one thing, let me tell you what you voted for. You voted for this. President Trump in the Oval Office with his angel mom, at least like giving dignity and respect to Americans.
Beautiful. She's a beautiful woman. She's been through hell. She's been through hell, right?
Oh, yes.
Your daughter's looking down proud of you. You know that. Just keep it going.
I know.
Keep it going.
It's like you said.
Stay with that one.
It's like you said, we have a purpose.
It's a purpose. Yeah. She's proud of you.
When do we get the class action lawsuit from these angel parents against the Biden administration for doing this to so many American families? These people don't belong in our country. They don't belong here. They never belonged here. This is not a country for them. This is not a society for them. They're rapists, murderers, demonic, evil people from the third world. This is not how you create a high-trust society. This is how you create a zero-trust society. This is how you destroy lives. At what point do you say the opening of our borders and our culture to these animals was the greatest evil visited upon our nation in decades? You can see, it's like typically a mother like that would lose a child because of a war on a battlefield far away. I'm not saying that that's better, but that was when you would get circumstances like that. The Biden administration brought the battle to our home. The whole point of sending an American soldier off to war was so that we wouldn't have to fight the enemy here, whatever that enemy might be, the communist, the jihadi, the Nazi, whatever. This is the opposite of that. This is inflowing every evil on planet Earth directly into our neighborhoods. Like, what the hell was it all for? There's only one reason. There's only one reason that anyone would ever do this, and it's for political power. They know that when you have a illiterate criminal alien who can't speak English, can't work legally, is 100% dependent on federal welfare systems, that they pledge total fealty to the Democrat Party, who will protect those systems. Then what happens? Well, as we've learned last week, you shove them into Social Security, you give them Social Security numbers, and then they start to vote. And then you get permanent Democrat rule. If it's been neck-snapping urgency with the Trump administration, this is why. If you've noticed that there is like this sort of palpable, like kinetic demand of we must get this done now, this is why. If you allow that poison to take root in this country, if you allow these criminals, if you allow the worst elements of the globe to get a foothold here, you'll never be rid of it. And so Democrats are literally doing anything they can to bring them back. Carolyn Levitt on Mr. Kilmar, upstanding citizen. Let's go.
There is no Maryland father. Let me reiterate. Kilmar Abrego Garcia is an illegal alien, MS-13 gang member, and foreign terrorist who was deported back to his home country. And when Kilmar Abrego Garcia was originally arrested, he was wearing a sweatshirt with rolls of money covering the ears, mouth, and eyes of presidents on various currency denominations. This is a known MS-13 gang symbol of hear no evil, speak no evil, see no evil. Nothing will change the fact that Abrego Garcia will never be a Maryland father. He will never live in the United States of America again.
It's amazing. ALX, I need that CNN clip, please, on criminal immigration. It's amazing to see what they've done on this issue. Because by bringing these monsters here, letting them slaughter Americans, and then defending them, Democrats have flipped the entire country. You can see his arrest record here. You can see his criminal record. The White House trapped Democrats into defending this guy and then released all this information. I love watching these people cook. Watching the White House cook these days, it's just mastery. It's nothing like term one. Term 1, President Trump was always on their back heel responding to things. Term 2, President Trump is letting Democrats fall ass backwards into traps like this and then closing the lid on them. Setting off the spring and letting it snap shut. Get a load of this. Here's the history of Kilmar, upstanding citizen. Go.
Today we learn more about Democrats' innocent Maryland dad. He crossed the border illegally through the Texas desert, migrated to Maryland, got pulled over 4 times there, and was never deported because it's a sanctuary state. And he skipped every traffic court hearing. Garcia in 2019 was arrested in a gang sweep. He was detained in connection to a murder investigation and was picked up in a frequent gang area. According to the police report, the detective picked him up with 3 active members of MS-13, one of them ranking members. Garcia tossed marijuana out of his pocket when the detective approached, and when he was frisked, Garcia had $1,000 in cash. He was wearing a Chicago Bulls hat, which the detective says means they're members in good standing with MS-13. He was also wearing a hoodie with a known gang insignia. Officers contacted a reliable informant who confirmed that Garcia was an active member of MS-13 with the Westerns clique. The source said he had the rank of Chiqueo with the moniker of Chele. Now, how do we know he just didn't randomly run into these guys? Quote, officers know MS-13 gang members are only allowed to hang around with other members or prospects for the gang. Is this your average Maryland father?
It says so very much about how they see citizenry in this country. There's something really profound that Elon Musk said, and I'm just going to paraphrase it because we don't have the clip, but I just loved this clip. That geography isn't the country. The people are the country. If you take all of Somalia and move all of Somalia to Minneapolis, you take every person in Somalia, you move them to Minneapolis, Minneapolis ceases to be Minneapolis. We've literally just done that. Thank you, George W. Bush, who did that. Take the entire country, you move it over. Somalia just moves to the geographic location. And that means that what was known as Somalia from a geographic perspective ceases to be Somalia anymore. You do the same thing with Italy. Take every Italian, move them to Florida. Go to the east coast of Florida. It seems like that's exactly what they did. But you take every Italian, you move them to Florida, Italy ceases to be Italy. Florida becomes Italy because of the traditions, the language, the people's connected past, their connections with each other, tradition. The culture is the people. So by calling him a Maryland man, what they're trying to do is repeat the lie or to imprint that just where you are, that's who you are. That's not true. I'm an American because I was born here. My great-great-grandpappy was born here. It's in my blood. It's in my DNA. It's rooted in me. Kilmar is not an American. He's not a Maryland man. He is a gangbanger from El Salvador. And now he's home with his president, who at the White House this week, live on our program, said, no, I'm not going to deport a terrorist back to America. So cry about it. Kilmar, one final little bit here, is a domestic abuser, which is an insane position to take, that we are for the importation of more domestic abusers.
He admitted he was in the country illegally. He was interrogated about human drug smuggling. At first, he said he wasn't afraid of being sent home, and then he changed the story and said he was terrified. A Democrat judge held him, denied him bond because they said he was a flight risk and a danger to the community, and ruled that he was deportable. While he was in jail, he married the American woman he'd gotten pregnant and then appealed for asylum. On appeal, another Democrat judge upheld that he was a verified member of MS-13. But since his lawyer argued that his life was in danger from a rival gang if he was deported to El Salvador, the judge said he could be deported anywhere in the world except for El Salvador, then released him. But Biden failed to deport him. which is too bad for Garcia's wife because of what happened next. Garcia's wife in 2020 accused him of domestic violence, and a temporary protective order was issued by the judge. But the wife never followed up and appeared at the hearing. The next year, in 2021, she accused him of domestic violence again, and a judge issued a second protective order. This is what she told authorities. He punched, scratched me on my left eye, leaving me bleeding. He ripped my shorts and shirt off. He grabbed me by my arm. I was afraid to be close to him. I have multiple photos, videos of how violent he could be, and all the bruises that he left me. But again, she didn't appear at a follow-up hearing. This is the man who Democrats are defending.
The court ordered that the respondent committed the following acts of abuse. Once in May of 2021, assault in any degree. And on May 4th of 2021, he punched and scratched his wife, ripped off her shirt, and grabbed and bruised her. This is from a court in Maryland.
Bro, they hate you. They just hate you. They just hate native-born Americans. This is douchebag Chris Van Hollen, who is the cuck senator from Maryland, who won Cuck of the Day, actually, with the Trump administration. Trump War Room has Cuck of the Day. Please grab that tweet. And here he is down in El Salvador begging to go see the wife-beating terrorist. He was told he couldn't. And then he needs to make earlier provisions. You traveled down 3,000 miles south of our border to try and spring a terrorist back to his state. This is why he gets Cuck of the Day. Okay? Anyway, don't want to belabor. I mean, we already know this. We've already covered ad nauseum. This is nothing new, but it's worth putting a pin in it. The extent to which they are willing to go to kill you. And if it hasn't been made clear, the point of all of the open borders is to replace what it is to be an American with something else. To move Somalia here, Haiti here, El Salvador here, to move every other country here. And that's how you eliminate being an American. Why? Because they see Western civilization and Christianity specifically as the greatest threats to a one-world government. The idea of freedom, the ingrained rights that we have in this country, they want you to be eliminated. And they have plans to do that. And this is what our vote for President Trump was all about. A rejection of those plans and a destruction of their new world order, whatever they want to call it. Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, speaking of destroyed, there is a very interesting series of takedowns for the Blue Origin spaceflight this week. Now, we covered this, and we had a little segment on it. Brought on somebody who does the entertainment news, to go chat a little bit about what happened. Shakespeare has a saying, "The lady doth protest too much." When you know you're a fraud, you act a very specific way. You act put off, upset, angry, snippy when people start to question you. Gayle King is one of those dingbats who was launched into space this week, along with pop stars, other journalists, feminists, girl bosses. And she was on TV being asked about all of her haters, people saying she's not a real astronaut, which of course we can prove definitively she is not. And Gayle King decided to snap and lash out. The lady doth protest too much. Let's go.
What do you think when people say, oh, it's frivolous? Number one, they call it a ride, which I find very irritating because they never say men went for a ride. What do you say to...
The men actually... Wait, hold on. Men flew spaceships. The men... Are you talking about male astronauts? The male astronauts are the ones who actually flew the spaceship. Definitionally, according to the FAA, according to the FAA, you're not a crew member and you're not an astronaut if you have no role on the actual space flight. If you're not doing anything, then you're not an astronaut. You're a tourist. You're a passenger. It's like booking a commercial flight and me saying that I'm the pilot. No, I'm not. I'm going to sit in a seat and I'm going to be delivered to my destination. I didn't build the plane, nor did I fly it. Gayle King, at best, if it's to be believed, Gayle King was simply a tourist on a dick rocket that was built for her, paid for by a man, piloted by men remotely, and she did nothing other than wear some spandex and float around and take selfies of herself. Okay, here we go. Let's continue.
People who think that this was frivolous or just a ride. You know, I think the message that it sends is very, very powerful. And the people that say that, by the way, weren't there.
Okay, let's see. What message does it actually send? Katy Perry was probably the most famous person to be launched into space on the Dick rocket, a 3-minute ride on the Dick rocket. You know it was 3 minutes. They keep saying it's 11 minutes. It's not 11 minutes. Apparently they were in space for 3 minutes. But even that's a lie, and we can prove it. Here we go. Here's Katy Perry.
They can see the unity that we model. I hope they can...
Thank you. Hold on. The genius of Katy Perry demonstrated here. Here is what astronaut, scientist, explorer Katy Perry learned in her trip, just to explain to you exactly how sophisticated this operation was.
I hope they can see the unity that we modeled and replicate that and understand that we weren't just taking up space, we were making space for the future. And for me, like Gayle said, this wasn't a ride, it wasn't a destination, it was a journey, and it was a supernatural one. And my journey has always been about love and belonging, and I think that we have all felt that sometimes we weren't worthy or we didn't belong, and in certain ways, no matter all the accolades, no matter all the studying, no matter anything. And I think today we all said it, like, we belong here.
I can't take it. It's like losing IQ points. There's like another minute of the clip. I can't do it to you. Their little scuba outfits. Katy Perry famously saying, "We're going to put the ass back in an astronaut." Okay. Grab me the definition of an astronaut, please, according to the FAA. I know that we got it? Okay. What is it? In 2021, the FAA added a requirement that a crew member had to be demonstrating activities during the flight that were essential to public safety or contributed to human space flight safety to be called an astronaut. So let's go ahead and check in on what happened when these ladies hit space, shall we?
1, 2, 3, taking up space! Tamir's in space. Flynn, behind you. Look right behind you. It's okay. Leave Flynn up there. Flynn, behind you. Look.
Flynn, I gotcha. I gotcha, Flynn.
Gotcha. Proud of you, Flynn. Flynn, can't lift it up. Oh, the moon! You guys, I will have to tell you, look at the moon. That's amazing.
Wow, look at the blue line.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my goddess!
Wow.
Oh my That's our pink moon.
Oh my goddess.
Okay.
Oh my goddess.
Now it's time to look out.
Got it.
Oh my gosh.
Look at the amount of exploring I'm doing.
Whoa. That's amazing.
Okay, enough. All right. So not astronauts. And apparently didn't actually even go to space. So what exactly is happening here? Did they go to space? A couple of interesting things have popped up on the internet questioning what actually happened here exactly. First off, you got to look at the pod when it comes down and see the. I mean, you're gonna watch Katy Perry like kiss the ground as though she just survived 9 months in space, like the astronauts that Joe Biden abandoned. Kiss the ground, and I liked it. But look at the pod; it's pristine. What exactly is going on here with this pod? Because this is what a pod looks like when it actually comes back from space. What pods look like when they come back from space, they look like charred marshmallows. This is what it looked like when astronauts who were rescued by Elon Musk, because he runs an actual spaceship company. This is the Dragon X launch. This is what it looks like when you re-enter the atmosphere. This is why the re-entry of the atmosphere is so dangerous, because everything is on fire. But this is what their pod looked like. And it looks like it just came off the assembly line. Also, when it was falling back to Earth, not only were these brave astronauts screeching for dear life and screaming
from the crew capsule, those are like the guide parachutes. There go the drogue parachutes.
Just free falling right there until those drogues came out.
All right, okay, enough.
And then next.
Not only is it screeching and screaming for dear life, but all these women who are on the wrong side of 50 hit the ground super hard. Like, what's this?
Despite the sporty
bang.
So there it is.
Okay, so they're like sitting in folding chairs, effectively, inside. The Kardashians are there. So just to show you exactly how serious this all is. And how this is definitely not a celebrity stunt or anything like that. Just bring in the Kardashians to any type of any type of sophisticated scientific research. This is it looks like a hard landing. Why is there no footage of them taking off in the rocket? Why is there no footage of them landing in the rocket? They had selfies of every other moment, but we can't see them going up into space? Just asking questions, as they say. Why don't we see them on this pretty rough impact back on Earth? While Elon Musk is literally catching his rockets in midair with chopsticks, Jeff Bezos is landing them quite hard in the desert. And then we get a little closer inspection of the actual pod itself. So the pod looks pristine, clean, crisp. Nothing bad has ever happened to it. Look at this. Look at the image of this pod. What's going on here? Nothing happened to this thing. The differences between this and this, there's something wrong here. Now, you'll notice something else very specific. When we watched this live, and this was live streamed, the Dragon X return of these stranded astronauts. They had to have an entire crew run up and open up the doors. Because, of course, you're inside of a magnetically pressurized cabin. The doors are locked from the outside and the inside because you're in space. And you don't want to open the doors. Everyone would die. Something remarkable happened when the Blue Origin's pod hit. Check this out.
Her mouth, but really her heart.
No.
Her mouth,
no.
but really her heart.
And is that?
Her mouth, but really her
Pause.
heart.
And is that?
So you see the little non-binary minder there go screaming over to the door. When it opens from the inside, what is this? On an actual vehicle, please type in, do spaceship doors open from the inside? On an actual vehicle that goes into space, you, of course, will never find a door that can be just sprung open from the inside. That would be incredibly dangerous. These doors are inside of tightly pressurized cabins that don't allow for the occupants to just turn a knob. Space doors on every spaceship that's ever been created must be opened by manned crews with special instruments down on the ground from the outside. Because everyone would die if that happened in space. So this is wild. What happens next? Let's go back to the video. So the lady comes over and screams at them, "Don't open the door, don't open the door." Jeff Bezos goes and gets his tool and then acts as if he's the one who opens the door, which is insane. Now, the most generous interpretation of all this is that Jeff Bezos wants to just be the hero. He wants the glory. He wants, he's the guy who paid, $50 million, $1 billion to get away from his wife for 3 minutes. The more nefarious interpretation of all of this is that something that's terribly wrong with this operation, this feminist girl boss moment, this iconic feminist girl boss moment, isn't what they say it is. I can't get over it. I can't get over that they opened the door. That they opened the door on the live stream. The only reason we have this footage is because they were dumb enough to live stream it. Okay, so what's actually happening here exactly? You set up the single stupidest people into space. They come back. They're all angry about not being called astronauts. They're furious because the PR stunt totally failed and that everyone's calling them out. Was all of this faked? I think this is probably the best explanation that we have found about what actually happened here. The reason why this is from a reporter who's really looked into this, and it's, I think, a good explanation. When you go to the top of a roller coaster, or when you take one of those military flights that flies up sort of to an apex, very high, and then comes back down to Earth, you experience weightlessness. You experience what they would call zero gravity. It's not actual zero gravity. It's just you're falling faster than the rate of gravity. So you go up in your seat a little bit. You experience this when you're flying on a commercial flight and it lands a little fast, or maybe when it changes altitude. You get a little tummy riser, it's called. What happened here was the most expensive tummy riser in human history. Let's read. Fighting the fake news with facts. The Blue Origin flight with Katy Perry and other women did not really go to space like the media is portraying. They didn't actually experience microgravity either. Yes, technically the rocket delivered passengers beyond the Kármán line. The Kármán line is the internationally recognized boundary of space. It's 62 miles up from the Earth's crust. But they really just hit that point at apogee. There was no orbital insertion. Not even close. This explains that there were no burns on the craft. The brief state of weightlessness during the ascent and descent was not due to escaping the Earth's gravity, but because of a combination of free fall and the absence of a supporting force, the rocket. Similar to the sensation of being weightlessness at the peak of a roller coaster. Essentially, this was just a really expensive roller coaster ride. They were falling toward Earth, and the absence of the rocket's upward thrust simulated weightlessness. They weren't actually in space. It's all fake. They took a very high flight up into the Earth's atmosphere. That's it. Kármán line. Let's get it. I want a definition of that, please. The Kármán line is the internationally accepted altitude, typically 100 kilometers, 62 miles, above the Earth's surface that marks the boundary between the Earth's atmosphere and outer space. So please click on that graphic, please. It's named after aerospace engineer Theodore von Kármán, who calculated the altitude where aerodynamic lift becomes insufficient for flight. Got it? Okay. Well, there you go. So you can zoom in here, and you can see. There you go. Okay. So they went up high to this line, and then came back down to Earth. This is what happened. It was a really special roller coaster ride. Very expensive roller coaster ride. I think this is there's other people saying that they faked this in a Hollywood movie studio and that they didn't go up into space at all. This, I think, is a very generous interpretation. It makes a lot of sense to me. This explains how there's no chars on the rockets. It explains that they are not astronauts. They're not explorers. This is a PR stunt, an embarrassing one at that. And it also explains why they're so prickly about it, right? Why Gayle King yells at people about it. One final thing that I'll say about this. God will not be mocked, right? Katy Perry decides to misgender God and engage in blasphemy when back on Earth. Here we go.
It is the highest high, and it is surrender to the unknown, trust, and this whole journey is not just about going to space. It's the training, it's the team, it's the whole thing. I couldn't recommend this experience more. This is like up there with all the, different tools that I've learned in my life, from meditation to the Hoffman process. This is up there because what you're doing is you're like really finding the love for yourself, because you got to trust in yourself on this journey, and then you're feeling the love.
All right. Okay. Got it? You got to trust yourself. You got to connect with the divine feminine. I'm an astronaut. You know what that is? You know what this is? This is cultural appropriation. That's what it is. That's cultural appropriation. This image is culturally appropriating the hundreds, if not thousands, of astronauts. Some of them who died attempting to explore space. That's what this is. This is just straight up cultural appropriation. This is LARPing as an astronaut. You go to Comic-Con, see people dressed like this. That's what it is. It's embarrassing. It seems like a very outdated, desperate attempt at like the final vapors of wokeness. And the fact that they're all being savaged, and that this has been totally ruinous for Jeff Bezos and for all of the journalists, girl bosses, feminists, and insufferable pop stars that were launched here, that's a positive for society. I'm so proud of all of you. I'm so proud of us for the way that we have responded here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk a little bit about girl bosses. There's a governor in a very important state in this country, a fine state, a state that we've traveled to many times, named Governor Gretchen Whitmer. She was at Trump's White House just this past week, kissing the ring, but she didn't want reporters to know about it, so she hid her face. She did the meme. Put it up, please. She did the meme, and she was able to create a very special viral moment for all of us, which is Governor Gretchen Whitmer hiding her face at the White House. This is what that looked like. I just want to thank the Trump White House. Man, they know how to troll. Here we go. Man, they know how to troll. There is someone who is trying to rid the state of Michigan of this embarrassment. Gretchen Whitmer has been atrocious for the state of Michigan. You know this because, of course, she's groveling into Trump's orbit. Somebody who'd like to rid her permanently of this position is Congressman John James, who is a candidate for the governor of Michigan, and he joins our show live now. John James, I got to tell you, man, it's great to have you. You would never hide your face inside the Oval Office with a meeting with Trump, would you?
No, quite the opposite. I was proud when I was invited to the Oval Office, frankly, back in 2018, when I had the honor and privilege of standing next to President Trump. I showed the entire world, and I was actually attacked for endorsing the president. I was attacked for being at the president's side. I'm an always Trumper. And frankly, it's beyond me that even if you're not a Trump fan, let's assume you're crazy for a second. Even if you're not a Trump fan, how could you possibly be invited to the Oval Office and after asking a president for something, be ashamed to have a picture taken of you. I mean, I think that was embarrassing, not just for Gretchen Whitmer. It was embarrassing for the state of Michigan. We are in desperate need of President Trump's support, and he's bringing opportunity back to the United States of America, trillions of dollars worth of investment, but is stopping short of our border. It's going to Ohio and Indiana because the environment here in Michigan created by the Whitmer administration. We've seen outflows of migration. We've seen 45,000 jobs lost in manufacturing due to the Biden's EV mandates. And you see a state that's lost more manufacturing jobs than any other state in the country and the highest unemployment. Frankly, she was probably hiding her face because she's embarrassed of her own job record. Frankly, that's something to be ashamed of, but certainly not being invited to the Oval Office where the most powerful man in the world sits and works.
We weren't planning on doing this, but why not? We found the photo, and so we're going to show the people the difference. So here's the current governor of Michigan hiding her face in the Oval Office, which is an insane thing to do, given the amount of reporters that are there when Donald Trump does a press conference. And then here's John James. See if you can spot the difference. There we go. Very well done. Okay, so you brought up a number of great points there. President Trump, tariffs, Michigan, jobs, EVs. All of this is in the news right now. I find it particularly fascinating, Congressman, that the left has decided to go from EV mandates to torching Teslas. That's got to be particularly interesting for a Michigan man to observe.
They have no values. Their only value, sadly, is winning. They care more about winning than being right. And frankly, we're wise to their game. They have these values that shift, and if you don't agree with what they call values, now all of a sudden you're evil. Burning a Tesla emits more harmful gases into the environment than burning an internal combustion vehicle for years and years and years. Great point. Now all of a sudden, when you don't agree with their agenda, now you're not just wrong, you're evil, because they have deified themselves, Benny. When you have deified themselves, now you have the ability to create your own truth. And so when you disagree with someone, you're not just wrong, you're evil. And that's the core of their entire Marxist communist movement, is that there is no space for disagreement. Now, I was having a conversation with my father, who actually came to Michigan for opportunity out of the Jim Crow South. And he made a comment to me that sounds fantastical. There used to be a thing called conservative Democrats, people who believed in true liberalism of freedom of expression and freedom of thought, people who understood that when we come together as a country, we have to unite as a nation, where it's not about black or white, it's about red, white, and blue, about the things that hold us together and moving us all together and forward in concert and for everyone's benefit. And that's what President Trump is talking about. President Trump is talking about putting policies in place that will strengthen America, that will focus on America, and the American people have listened. President Trump has a mandate from the American people to make America great again. And now in 2026, the people of the state of Michigan have an opportunity to look themselves in the mirror and say, are we willing to make Michigan great again? I say yes. I say we focus on the fundamentals. We take out a page out of President Trump's book. We dispense with the leftist ideology that would torch Teslas, when for the past 8 years, they were vilifying people who just wanted their work truck to be able to start on a cold winter day, and say, we deserve better and we're going to take back better for our state.
Yeah, it's an amazing series of hypocrisies with Gretchen Whitmer. Everything from the covering her face is sort of emblematic of a lot of decisions she's made. There's also some great memes. This is a good one from our team. Okay, where's Whitmer? There you go. Okay, you could do a whole children's book based on this. I would cover my face if I had her record during COVID. It is remarkable to me, Congressman, that people who were such lockdown tyrants get rewarded by being reelected. People haven't forgot about this, though, in Michigan. There's a lot of great outdoorsing in Michigan. Gretchen Whitmer's husband got to go fishing, right, when nobody else could. Right. Is that something that you're going to bring up in the campaign?
There was a lot of rules for thee, not for me. Whether it was whether it was the current governor celebrating her birthday party just in a local bar when nobody else could celebrate or see their families, or whether she was taking a plane and flying it to Florida, or letting her administration do things that we couldn't do, or whether it was shutting down barbershops and clamping off people's livelihoods and large businesses and small businesses, while she continued to do what she was doing, or the most egregious, putting old people who may have been frail into compromising situations with COVID. You look at that, and now with the extreme draconian rules, I mean, we're talking about, I remember reading the Bible, right? I remember reading the Bible when I was growing up and reading Revelation and saying to myself, that could never happen. That could never happen. They shut down churches. They made it illegal to practice our faith in the state of Michigan. And Gretchen Whitmer was lauded by the left for being one of the most strenuous, one of the toughest on COVID-19. And how many people lost their lives because of those terrible policies? How many people during that time frame, you hear stories about people who've been married for 50, 60 years, and you say goodbye to your loved one from behind a piece of plastic. I mean, do you remember how that plexiglass that was supposed to save our lives when we were getting our takeout orders? I mean, it almost seems idiotic looking behind us, because it was. Well, the North remembers. And I'm telling you, in 2026, the people of the state of Michigan are going to remember what was done to them by their government. This is why conservative principles are so important for our republic to stand, because it's about the people, not about the government. The best government is fair, is sufficient, and it is limited. And the past governor, I keep saying the past governor, but Gretchen Whitmer has shown us exactly what incompetence and corruption can do and how quickly it can happen. We absolutely cannot go back, which is why we need to make sure that we stay focused on the future. We put the strongest candidate possible on the top of the ticket in Michigan, and we win and save our state.
Yes. Now, President Trump won in Michigan and had a message that really resonated with Michigan voters. I think that you also are obviously a fantastic candidate for this role. And in a fair election, my money's on you, sir, in the race. However, we've seen how elections go in Michigan, and we don't like what happened in 2020 during all of the COVID nonsense. I mean, from my perspective, a lot of these rules were designed in order to make sure that there could be mail-in ballot fraud and open and rampant election fraud. There's been plenty of that has certainly been covered. Some of it that has been investigated. Not sure where it's gone, but there have been some things from the Secretary of State that have been pushed through to the investigative standpoint, even police reports about it. But what are you going to do to make sure that the elections are actually free and fair in the state of Michigan, which have had very suspicious results in recent elections?
Well, folks should not mistake patience, tactical patience, for forgetfulness. We have not forgotten the scenes of Cobo Hall. We have not forgotten exactly what the administration, and specifically Jocelyn Benson, who as Secretary of State is currently running for governor, the illegal methods that she took that were actually struck down in court soon thereafter, but it was too late to do anything about. We haven't forgotten the impact of presuming signatures valid when they hadn't, outside of the authority of the legislator, the duly elected representatives of the people. We haven't forgotten that. Transparency and accountability will follow in due time. But this is why it's so important to put the strongest candidate at the top of the ticket when we so desperately need it in Michigan. This is what's at stake. In 2018, I was running for Senate, and that's the first time that I endorsed the president. President Trump endorsed me right around that, where that picture was shown that you put up there. I outperformed the top of the ticket by 3.1%. And that was with marijuana on the ballot in my very first race. The next race in 2020, during a recession and COVID, with the Whitmer administration, Jocelyn Benson with their thumb on the scale, I outperformed the top of the ticket by one point. And then in 2022, I finally won with the top of the ticket, falling short by 11 points. I won by 0.5 point with abortion on the ballot. And then in 24, I extended that lead. And so now, having the strongest candidate at the top of the ticket, what that means is we hold the House in the state legislature. We flip the Senate in the state legislature. And in the state of Michigan since 1983, we flipped parties. When a Democrat in the 80s ruins it, the people of the state of Michigan call in a Republican. Blanchard Engler. And then when Granholm ruined it and we lost population, we called in a Republican. and Republican, and we fixed it. Now with Whitmer, with the loss of manufacturing jobs, with the outflow of population, I truly believe the people of the state of Michigan, again, since 1983, will elect a Republican, the strongest Republican, to lead our nation, our state, back out of the doldrums where we are right now. I believe in the people of the state of Michigan, and the people of the state of Michigan are desperate for a leader who believes in them as well. Michigan is actually a red state who hasn't had someone strong, who is tested, someone who's tested in business and in combat, somebody who can actually help us get to where we need to be. And by 2026, Michigan will have had 40 years of Republican governors since 1963, and only 24 years of Democrat governors. We have a majority in the United States House of Republicans, and so this is a red state. And so my fellow conservatives, my fellow Republicans out there, hope and help is on the way. Please, please get out to vote. And just like President Trump told us, make this too big to rig.
Yes, that's exactly. What a wonderful message. I have a parting gift for you, Congressman. In order to help your campaign, I am going to work as hard as I can behind the scenes to ensure that Joe Biden comes and campaigns for your opponent. Here was Joe Biden. Here was Joe Biden yesterday giving a speech. Is his first speech since returning to politics. And here's just a short snippet of how it went. I'd love to get your response to this.
And I'd never seen hardly any black people in Scranton at the time I was only going in 4th grade. And I remember seeing the kids going by at the time called colored kids on a bus going by.
How would that play in Michigan exactly? This is the spokesperson for the Democrat Party still.
What happened to Corn Pop? Remember that guy who was talking about pulling up his legs? And I went on the porch. This guy, look, I'm done with Joe Biden and his stories. I'm not quite sure he knows what planet he's on. I think he might have been up in that fake capsule with Katy Perry doing whatever they were doing. I mean, you see Jeff Bezos with that face plant in the middle of the desert. I mean, this is yeah. There you go. I mean, like if anybody should not be taken seriously, it's the former president. And so this is what, frankly, forgive me, angers me. When the fake news media gets out there and lambasts our president for the what we used to call battle update briefs in the military. He brings all of the secretaries, he brings all of his administrators around a round table every week and asks them, what are you doing to make America great again? And they each brief the chief executive officer, the commander in chief of our nation, President Donald J. Trump, on what they're doing. And he invites the media in. Now, you just put up a video of placeholder President Joe Biden. These people covered up for Joe Biden for 3.5 years and said nothing. And then when he outlived his usefulness, they kicked him to the curb. And they want to lecture us on democracy? Spare me. There was nothing democratic about how Kamala Harris was appointed in that position. President Donald J. Trump is not just the second president in United States history to get served 2 non-consecutive terms. President Trump is the first president in American history who's beaten 2 opponents in the same race. This is a symbol of how our president is resonating with real people. When you talk about deporting criminals, only the people who have been abetting their lies and their criminal behavior are upset. But the majority of Americans are totally fine with kicking out criminals, MS-13 gang members. The only people who are upset by that are people who are suffering from Trump derangement syndrome or woke mind virus. These are the types of people who are dangerous to the rest of us. We still have to love them because we're commanded so by our Lord and Savior. But they should be as far away from making decisions for us as possible. When you see this MS-13 member who is just deported to El Salvador, and you see this misplaced empathy for that MS-13 thug, meanwhile, no one's talking about Rachel Morin. No one's talking about her trial. 0 hours. We're over 60 for this criminal. And nobody's talking about Ruby Garcia, who was murdered in the state of Michigan. No one's talking about the folks in the state of Michigan who created sanctuary cities in our state and how the administration in Lansing is supporting this. No one's talking about the fact that Michigan is on a northern border, and 84% of the people who are apprehended on the FBI watch list come over on the northern border. We're a northern border state. And so these are the types of things that having somebody with combat experience will be able to do. Because I understand what it takes to keep Americans safe, because I've done it before. I understand what it takes to keep Michiganders safe, because I've done it before. And the days where these thugs come to rape and murder and pillage our American citizens and our Michiganders will be over the day that I am sworn in 2027.
Badass. We love that. It's so awesome to talk with you. It's so amazing to like that you're jumping in this campaign. Michigan is a spectacular state. I'm from the Midwest. We want to save Michigan. I hate seeing the way that it's gone. There's been a lot of raping and pillaging of the industries of Michigan, of the unions in Michigan, of the hardworking people in Michigan. It'd be nice to see that righted. And you make a great point about Michigan being a red state. It's all a mirage. It's fake. It's fake. Pennsylvania's a red state. Wisconsin's a red state. Michigan's a red state. Right. I'm glad that you brought that up. Ladies and gentlemen, follow John James. 250,000 people already do, so you need to be one of them. Make sure that you give power to people who are fighting for us and who's an Apache helicopter pilot. Is that correct?
That is correct. Many moons ago, maybe about 20 pounds. So
okay.
Working on that.
All right. Thank you so much. And please be back soon. All right.
God bless.
God
Take
bless.
care. Happy
Godspeed.
Easter.
Happy Easter. Very happy Easter. We are very proud to be joined now in a preview of the White House Easter festivities, something we've never seen before. A president declare the entire Easter week as a week of holy festivities at the White House. It's so wonderful to see Christianity back in our nation. White House Faith Council, Paula White Kane and Jenny Korn join the program live now. Paula and Jenny, welcome to the program. I'm not sure if you're in the fake Joe Biden White House set or not. We've had a number of interviews from there. Always exciting.
So is it so great to be with you, Benny, and just love your show and all you're doing, and hope the family's doing great and your beautiful children. And happy Easter.
Happy Easter. All right, so you were with President Trump last night. We've never seen a week, a holy week of Easter White House festivities. It's only ever been one day. The last White House didn't even mention Easter or Christ Jesus on Easter. And so I think President Trump has a change in mind, and maybe you're the ones delivering that change. Please, the floor is yours.
We have. And, you know, last year was horrendous. It was pathetic. I mean, it was just so troubling to millions and millions of Christians and believers on our most holy day, Resurrection Sunday, when our Lord and Savior rose from the dead. They declared it Transgender Visibility Day. Now, they would say they had that all along, but all of us know, working in the White House and just common sense people, that you can move a date or an event to any time. It could have been Monday, it could have been Thursday, the week after, but no, they had to do that. And I'll never forget, President Trump called me up. We talked, he said, when we're back in the White House, we're going to do something big, huge. And boy, did we ever. So it started out on Sunday night that the president and First Lady Melania did a proclamation. Janae, I love when you read it and have it, because it is just, it just starts out from their heart, talking about the death, the burial, the resurrection of Jesus Christ, and how all of us have been sinners, and that debt was paid by our Lord and our Savior Jesus. Then it goes on to say, we will always be unwavering, fighting for religious liberty here and abroad, which is the bedrock of our office, the White House Faith Office. We have 8 different tenets, but religious liberty is our First Amendment. And we just believe that that is like the most important thing. Everyone has the right to approach God and to worship God. Then he goes on and says, may the Holy Spirit just pour out on this nation. So just, I'm like giving a very condensed version of this, one of the most beautiful proclamations. This is an official proclamation from the President of the United States. Then it went on and it only got better. We had an Easter dinner last night with President, several staff, many of our higher officials, and 30 pastors. And we went live. It was streamed. People can watch it on, of course, the White House whitehouse.gov and the YouTube. I mean, it's all over the place. President brought forth such a beautiful speech. We prayed, Reverend Franklin Graham, Pastor Jensen Franklin, myself, Bishop Kelvin Koberis. It was just, and it was supposed to end around 8. We stayed till about 9:30, I think.
It was late, very late.
And President just loved it. I mean, it was such a beautiful, intimate time of lifting up and preaching the gospel of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, of his death, of his burial, of his resurrection as the only begotten Son of God. And then it didn't end there. Today, we just walked out of a worship service where we had expected maybe about 100 or so. It was so packed out and overflow. People were in the hallways. They were standing on the back of the wall. And we had Reverend Franklin Graham, Pastor Greg Laurie, Pastor Jensen Franklin, Liberty Choir. They sang, they worshiped. Franklin preached the gospel. And then Jensen served communion. And here we are in the White House with people that wanted to come, take their time, that hour time, and worship God. It was just absolutely incredible. That's not all, though. I feel like Paul Harvey here. There's more. Tonight we have a Passover Seder, and we are going to celebrate Passover. And then there's still more. President will be releasing a video. So he truly said, I want to do Holy Week. And boy, promises made, promises kept, but he has delivered in a big way. And I can tell you, it's just been so beautiful to celebrate our most holy holiday as a believer and a Christian.
It's been a wonderful thing to see, and it sort of to buckle in on your point. I know we have the presidential holy message here, and it is it's beautifully written. I'm sure you both had a major hand in crafting this, as you're talking about. But there's a piece of viral content that went thermonuclear last week that I think really undergirds the I am not ashamed of Christ Jesus mentality of this White House, which is Carolyn Leavitt praying before a press briefing. And of course, she's about to go into the, the depths of the volcano of Mordor here at the, inside of the witch's kitchen of the briefing room, the White House briefing room. And she's just praying, and she's praying with her staff, and she's praying in a way that, like, you could probably hear it. The reporters could probably hear it through the little blue door there. It's not that thick.
Please give us the strength, the knowledge.
And it's just a wonderful thing to see. Can you maybe pivot off that? Like, why are we seeing such strength from this White House when it comes to defending Christianity?
Well, I think that, President Trump has said no more to so many things that were common sense, whether it was, having to proclaim that there are only two genders, a man and a woman, to saying that we need a secure border, to saying that we need to have inflation come down. One of those big tenets is we can say that we are people of faith, and people of faith have a voice in their government. And I think what some of your viewers really need to know is there are so many people of faith on staff here, and that wasn't a prerequisite. We're just, as the White House Faith Office, we're just seeing it because we're in the West Wing. I think we need to kind of back up. First time ever, historic, newly created White House Faith Office. It's not an initiative. It's not out in another building. It is in the West Wing as a report to the president, because the president has risen faith to prominence. So what we're seeing is that staff will come by and go, I just wanted to come by the Faith Office. And they wanted to just meet us. And it's just like, oh, are you doing a service here? Or they were so happy with the service that we did today. And so faith is just welcome back at the White House. And so you're going to see prayer like that on a regular basis.
And it's just amazing because we, like you said, President openly honors and asks for prayer and for worship. And it's just, it's a great, great time, Benny. I was thinking at the Faith Office yesterday, this is kind of interesting. You good?
Can you pray for my healing? So sorry about that.
I would actually be glad to. We're right down on the bottom on the first floor. There at the lobby, and you walk around, there's NSC, there's staff sec, etc. And so we were running into our office to get something. They said, oh, you can't come in there. I said, why? They said, well, we chose your office. There was one of our staffers that's very, very, very pregnant, and they thought she went in labor. So they put her in our office, and they said the best office if she's going to have the baby. And of course, medical was running in. Her husband was being notified. I said, Well, I couldn't agree more. I said, it's just another sign that this president also has the deepest respect for life. And so it's always exciting in the White House, and it truly is such an honor to serve President Trump, to serve the American people, and to serve people of faith.
It's a total honor. And I just had something that I wanted to ask you. I've never asked this before because I've never really had anyone serving in your position, and your position's totally new, and it's really inspiring. So here we go. I believe that President Trump, I believe this in my heart of hearts, that President Trump surviving that assassin's bullet was the hand of God, and that it was the most widely witnessed miracle in human history because of the technology that we have and the ability to capture that in 4K from every angle. Everyone watched it. Billions of people. There's 7 billion people in the world. They all saw it. I mean, most human beings on Earth saw that.
Right. Yeah.
And in every corner of the Earth. And then you witnessed President Trump, somewhat of a change. Everybody saw it at the RNC convention. Somewhat of a very profound change. Perhaps you have some insight into this, and I just like to sort of open the table up to see if you agree with that, and if some of this spiritual change in the president stemmed from this hand of God assassination survival.
Absolutely, Benny. In a quick nutshell, I've been with the president for 24 years. He called me out of the blue 24 years ago, had been watching me on television teaching the Bible. He said, "You've got the it factor." I said, "Oh, sir, we call that the anointing." So that was our hello. A relationship developed with him, his family, his staff. We would do Bible studies, pray, whether it was being at the hospital room with a loved one or a family member, or burying and doing the funeral for his brother, or baptizing and dedicating maybe his grandchildren, etc. This is a long relationship. This isn't a political relationship. This is constant prayer. The Lord, I really felt, spoke to me and said, when I first met him, just live out as a Christian before him. Just show him who I am. So he has a strong background, and I'll hit to that day of July 13th, which is really hard even to, think about, see, because this is not just the greatest president of our lifetime and maybe in history, but it's also a dear friend to me and my family. And so he grew up in a very strong family of faith. His mother, a godly Christian praying woman, went to Dr. Norman Vincent Peale's, went to his presbytery, not one time. He'd go to 2 Sunday schools and church, sometimes 2 to 3 times a week, had an incredible formation. Also Billy Graham crusade, watched a lot of people on television, loves to watch church on TV. So this was there. And when July happened, has he always believed in God? Yes. Does he believe that Jesus Christ is Lord and Savior? Yes. But what happened on that day? He absolutely knows, as you said, the world witnessed it, but he knows, I 100% know, that was an absolute miracle of God. In a milliliter, just millimeter of a second. It just, all the things I could sit here and talk about, usually that wouldn't be shown at that time. Him and Natalie had created that chart. Natalie's dad had showed her how to do it. The girl that put that chart up at that time, the side that he turned to, every detail beyond perfection. You could not, the greatest scientist in the world, the probability of all that happening and clipping his ear in that it's impossible. And so he absolutely knows beyond a shadow of a doubt, as do I, and I believe billions of people around the world, that God saved him. And he says that God had saved him for a purpose. And he believes that that purpose is to govern and be president of the United States of America and the world. Not to be the president of the world, but America impacts the world so much. We talked about it last night quite a bit. How has it changed him? I think, and this is just an observance, I think a lot of people who've been as successful as he has, I say, like it's the book of James, faith without works is dead. He's always been a generous man, etc. And sometimes when you're self-made, you like to help out God, right? What can I do? And God made it very clear that salvation is by grace. There's nothing we can do. And in that moment, I came to the realization, for many years, he's called me his pastor. I said, this was the one time in his life that he couldn't do anything, and God did everything. And during that time and that realization and that recognition, he says, I believed in God, but it's so different. I know God now. And I think that's a huge, huge thing that we've seen lived out even this Easter season, this Holy Week.
Wow. Jenny, just wanted to give you perhaps like the floor here and the final word on that experience and how it has affected your work today.
Right. You know what? The main thing I experience here is joy and resolve. And it's so amazing, everything that we do. And it's been very busy because this president does not sleep. He has done in 2.5 months what most presidents do in 8 years. I mean, he knows, and to Paula's point, he's got a resolve and a humility and a calmness about the fact that he needs to accomplish all these things. He's got 4 years and he's just going. I mean, last night we were able to brief him before we went into the dinner about what the dinner was going to entail, which, by the way, I want to say, historic that we did live stream. And before we did live stream, we invited Americans to tune in with the president to worship, pray, and then listen to his remarks. We haven't seen that done before, where we're inviting America to come into the White House, into the beautiful blue room, and to witness this with us. We were both getting texts throughout the whole thing. Oh my God, thank you so much. This is so amazing. And his speech is great. And the singer's amazing. Just that it was invited back, because people of faith have every right to have a voice in their government, just like everybody else. You know, when they scream that, separation of church and state, because we have a lot of faith leaders who had fear in the last few years. And so we said, you know what? Separation of church and state is just that the government can't tell you what religion to be. It doesn't mean that people of faith can't have a voice in the government. And so there is a huge welcome mat to people of faith, of all faiths, all denominations, all ethnic backgrounds from every state, to come into this White House and help us formulate policy and help President make us enter into the golden age, as he said, and faith is a huge part of that.
I mean, my final observation on all this, I don't know the president the way that you do, Paula, but I tell you this, I've been following and in politics for the last 20 years, and my entire life, every Republican has said that they're pro-life. And there's only one Republican who's walked across the street to the March for Life and spoken.
That's exactly right.
And actually done something.
Absolutely.
Every single one of these other guys sat and cowered.
Yeah.
Inside of the White House as they appeared through the drapes and stared at tens of thousands of people marching for life. And it's like, that's just a profound, that's all I need to know. That's all I needed to know.
I can't agree with you more. In his policy, I mean, think about what he did immediately coming in. He's defunded Planned Parenthood now. He immediately did the Hyde Amendment, reinstated the Mexico City policy, which was billions of dollars paying for foreign abortions, will not use tax dollars, Americans' money, to fund abortions. I mean, we could go on and on about all the different things. Pardoned 23 pro-lifers for praying silently in front of an abortion clinic. Yet they were burning down 300 of our churches, 100 of our pregnancy centers. He said no, and did a task force in DOJ to be hard to prosecute anyone that has an anti-Christian bias and also anti-Semitism. He stands so strong and will not tolerate just when there is wrongdoing with religious liberty, against life, against the things that are so precious to the heart of God and to this administration and to the president.
Well, Benny, to your point, other Republican presidents, he has broken the mold for the Republican Party, for the conservative movement, and he has shown what other leaders have said that they were going to do, but he's doing them. And it's ruffling feathers, right? Like with Doge. I mean, it's amazing on every level. He is not afraid, and he's like, well, this is common sense. And that's why he got elected, because regular people, Democrats, union people, Hispanics, African Americans, you name the group, have said, yes, we just want common sense back. And so he has broken that mold. And so they're going to either have to fall, in the future with that mold,
Absolutely.
or, they're not going to be able to win, because he has said, I'm pulling back the curtain on things that this government, including other conservatives, have done. And he's like, no more. He goes, I'm going to make sure that this government is accountable to the people. And that is the most refreshing thing and why it's such an honor to work for President Trump.
And he cares deeply. I mean, Benny, all the amazing things, the Easter, the policies, et cetera. But who can forget him working at McDonald's? I mean, how great was it to see this man that really does? I mean, I just loved it. I was like, this is awesome. He's like flipping burgers and doing French fries, And so he really is he's the president of the everyday people. And for those of us that have been in ministry, and I have for 40 years, people they're hurting. Life has ups, it has downs, it has ins and outs. Some days you can pay your bills, some days you can't. And this is a person that really cares. How epic is that?
Amazing. Amazing.
I love it because he just loves people too. And that's really him. This is not all just, let's stage and see how this will go. He's like, hey, find me a coffee shop. Where's the donut shop? And McDonald's, of course, is his favorite, along with the Diet Coke. But
it's actual servant leadership on display, and it's been really exciting to watch. And we thank both of you for briefing us on the program. And we hope that you're back soon. This is the most important topic and the most important time of the year when we look at the sacrifice of the original servant leader and our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and remember this and remember all of the resurrection and the glory that we can have as a nation if we return to the nation that put God on its currency and carved God into massive 3-letter words on all of the monuments.
Exactly.
Yeah, somehow it went sideways and we were taken over by demonic pedo cults, but now we'll fix that. It'll be great. No more weak leaders. I can say it. I know you can't, but it's fine. That's what we believe. Thank you for helping us fight darkness. Paula White Kane and Jenny Korn joining us from the White House Faith Office. Godspeed.
Thank you so much, Benny.
Peace.
Well, there is no proper other way to say it, but it's a rowdy show. We have a wide array of guests, and it's just such an honor to have people joining us who, are true experts. There was the White House Faith Office, very important on this Holy Week. I have a lot of strong Christians who work at this company and who have a tie-in to what is real. So what is real exactly when it comes to what this nation can do in the realm of space-age weaponry, physical properties, breaking physics itself? Something alarming happened yesterday that was picked up on by the internet, which was a speech given by the director of White House Office of Science and Technology. His name's Michael Krastios. And he said that America has technology that allows us to manipulate time and space and to annihilate distance. Put it up. This is a very interesting thing to say. What exactly does this mean? This comes on the heels of President Trump saying that we have secret weapons that no one can even understand. Now, this is very different from his whole red button conversation. You've all heard Donald Trump say his red button works. Kim Jong-un, it's hilarious. We love that. Donald Trump talking about nukes and the military capacity of the country he regularly does this. This is something we've never heard before. Here we go.
And we're very powerful. This country is very powerful. Let me tell you, it's far more powerful than people understand. We have weaponry that nobody has any idea what it is, and it is the most powerful weapons in the world that we have. More powerful than anybody, not even close. So nobody's going to do that, but I think that if that's what you're referring to, maybe it's not. But
most powerful weapons in the world, and nobody can understand them. Okay. The same week, the White House science director says, by the way, we can manipulate time and space. We can annihilate distance. Teleportation? Oh, definitely. I mean, that's the only thing that you could possibly be describing there, right? That's it. If you're annihilating distance. But what do we know? We certainly are not the experts on this. But there is somebody who's made quite a following for himself by investigating this style of technology. Some may call it space age. Some may call it science fiction. But as we've learned recently, there is no such thing. There's just, you don't know about it yet. Somebody who's known about a lot and has been calling out from the wilderness is Ashton Forbes. Ashton Forbes, space age science technology technologist investigator, joins us live now. Okay, but I guess our so we have a meme maker professionally, Ashton. Welcome to the show.
Everybody needs one.
Who's on our team? Yes, his name's Jerry. He's famous in the chat. He makes memes for every single show, and he's a monster fan of yours, and has been a big follower of your work. He's never done this. We've interviewed presidents and heads of state and senators and congressmen. He's never done this. He actually sent me a list of questions for you. So,
great.
This is how much our meme maker loves you, Ashton. So shout out Jerry in the chat.
Thank you, Jerry.
I want to begin by saying that I'm totally nascent on all of this. I wouldn't consider myself an expert at all. That's why we're happy to speak to the experts. But if we may just be able to begin with your background and what you read when you saw this report from the White House chief technologist saying time and space doesn't matter anymore and we can manipulate time.
Yeah, people know me from the MH370 videos that got popular a couple of years ago. And I've been saying for the last 2 years that the United States government has teleportation technology, warp drive technology, the ability to manipulate gravity. And that what you're seeing in that video right there is real. I'm just a healthcare IT consultant, and I shifted gears 2 years ago. I still have my normal job to investigate the missing plane, investigate those videos, and investigate the science and technology. No, when you say, what is this technology? I would say just call it quantum. Quantum mechanics is the secret to all of this. The big takeaway is that anybody can be me. Anybody can understand this science, and that's what we need to do. So a few things I want to say right off the bat are that nukes are obsolete. What you're seeing in this video right here obsoletes nuclear weapons entirely. Imagine trying to go back to the Middle Ages and trying to explain somebody what an iPhone is or how it works. You would find yourself without a head really quickly. That's the exact same paradigm shift we are facing right now. We are staring at technology that is so far beyond our paradigm that we can barely even understand it. What is the thing that we need real quick for this to be real? What I want to talk to you about today is that we don't need aliens for this to be real. There's no such thing as alien physics or alien science or alien technology. There's just physics, science, and technology. For this to be real, we only need one thing: negative energy.
So I have so many follow-up questions there, and I want to jump into this video and this flight. I want to start, however, like with a bedrock of what we absolutely know is certifiably real, that within 24 hours of each other, Donald Trump says we have secret weapons that nobody even understands. Trump chooses his words very carefully. You can always tell when Trump gives a little bit too much and then pulls back. He says we have weapons that no one even understands, which is an interesting way to talk about a weapon, and that it's more powerful than anything on Earth. Now, this is a president who regularly talks about nuclear weapons and their capacity. He does so in a very different tone. On the heels of that, Ashton, we have the White House chief technologist saying we can annihilate distance. We can manipulate time and space. Sure as hell sounds like teleportation technology to me, as somebody who's just reading the literal words. Here they are. But again, I haven't made a career looking into this stuff. Can you please unpack this for me?
Sure. Yeah, the Trump thing, I mean, he's telling the absolute truth when you hear him say, we have stuff that nobody understands. And when he just does a shrug and says, yeah, nobody's going to do anything. I mean, that is the most confident thing that I've ever seen Trump do. That would scare me if I was one of our adversaries. He's not exaggerating at all. If anything, he got talked to after that, and they said, hey, dial it back a little bit. You're letting a little bit too much information out there. And then when Krastios, he's the science and technology advisor to the president. He has this letter. I read it, I thought it has to be out of context somehow. It's actually even crazier in context. He says, we have stagnation was a choice. He's saying that we said, you know what? We've got to slow our technology down because we found this technology that's so powerful, we're not ready for it. And he comes out and he says, we're capable of so much more. And like you said, it leaves distance annihilated. People are out there coping, saying that he's talking about telephones and the internet. He's not talking about telephones and internet. He was talking about propulsion and transportation right before that. It really can only be one thing. And manipulating time and space is manipulating gravity. They're one and the same. This was so on the nose. The reason why everybody's reaching out to me today is that it almost feels like he's directly talking to me. When you look at this quote right here, like you said, what comes to your mind? Manipulating time and space, gravity manipulation, leaving distance annihilated, teleportation, allowing things to grow. There's this weird connection to plasma and like plants growing faster. The way he phrases it there is not like a business growing. It's like something actually literally growing. And then productivity, AI. AI. When I think of productivity, I think of AI. So for me, looking at this, I don't see another context that this makes any sense, which makes it so mind-blowing. I think that we are getting soft disclosure. They're warming us up to some of these ideas of advanced technology existing beyond our paradigm.
So they choose their words carefully, especially somebody who read this speech, and it's on camera. This is totally real. This is from the White House's website. This guy is a very serious person who gave this speech. And so he chose the word annihilate there. And I'd like to focus in on that. Leave distance annihilated. The definition of annihilate: to destroy utterly, to obliterate, nothing left. This is Oxford. So it's not that we've shortened distance, like we've made a really fast plane, okay? It's not like we're condensing distance, like we're breaking distance barriers, like sound barriers or so on. We're destroying distance doesn't mean anything anymore. Am I following what he's saying there correctly?
Distance is an illusion. So the former director of Lockheed Martin Skunk Works, the secret projects where they do all the secret advanced stuff, back in the 90s, Ben Rich, he said straight up, we have the ability to do anything you've seen on science fiction, anything you've seen in the shows. And so somebody asks him, how is this possible? How would teleportation be possible? And he says, how is ESP possible? And the guy responds, time and space or distance is an illusion? And he says, exactly. What we think of as distance is an illusion. And how do you unify all of these concepts? You say, oh, there's an extra dimension of energy all around us all the time. In fact, this extra dimension of energy gives space-time its form. What we see all over around us isn't nothingness. We are in a medium of energy. We just don't see it because it's quantum. It's invisible, just like magnetism. Magnetism exists. We don't see it, but we can see the effects of it. That is also true of the zero-point energy. And you're seeing Dr. Greer here speak. I've actually watched a lot of the interviews he's done with engineers, including people like Hal Puthoff, Eric Davis, for example, that are government black project physicists and engineers. And they explain this concept clearly. If there is this energy all around us, and we're in this medium of energy, then the thing that physics has gotten wrong, that classical physics and academia has gotten wrong, is they think that this 0-point energy is insignificant. They think there's nothing there that you can tap into. That when you get to zero, that's it. But the Casimir effect and various other experiments about 0-point energy show it's not nothing. In fact, it might be a significant amount of energy. So what we think of as zero is not the bottom. And if that's the case, that means not only can you make an explosion where you add energy to a region, you can remove energy from a region. So I brought an analogy for you here. Imagine this sponge is a region of space-time, a cube of space-time. If I were to look at this, I would go, well, it just looks normal. I don't see anything in this sponge. It's empty, right? It's just a sponge. I don't see anything dripping off of it. But what happens if I squeeze that region of space-time? Now the water drips out. So what would happen if I were to squeeze a region of space-time down? All the molecules would come together. They would get closer together to one another. Potentially it would create fog, condensation. Well, it turns out those MH370 videos, that's exactly what we see pulling the orbs forward. So this idea of having this 0-point energy that's a meaningful amount and tapping into it, that's negative energy. That's the way you make a warp drive. The whole thing, the only thing we had to understand, space is not actually empty. And if that's the case, we can swim through it the way that we do with the submarine by pushing it around. And the way we push it around is magnetohydrodynamics, magnetism.
Again, you're just blowing my mind here. I suppose this would be the right time to. So I want to get to this video, but I wanted to begin with just building the foundation.
Yep.
That this is something that the White House is now openly talking about, and that these are very serious people and professionals and the most powerful people on earth. You've never heard Trump talk like this about nukes. You've never heard White House technologist chiefs talk about annihilating distance or manipulating time. Those words have never been spoken. Now they're saying it. So you're saying they're soft prepping us for perhaps an introduction to this technology. What would that look like?
Let me say this. I said this on live stream yesterday. I have seen an email that was Marco Rubio was on it. He's currently the Secretary of State. He was the senator at the time I saw the email. And that email indicates that he was essentially briefed about these videos. I'm not going to say exactly what's going on in the email because it will go back to my source, but email shows Marco Rubio knows about these videos, knows about MH370, and knows about the technology at play, including the origins of this technology, which goes back to like the Soviets in the 70s, scalar weaponry and technology like that. There are other people on that email I'm not going to mention right now. The other thing I want to say is that I know for a fact that the administration knows about this stuff, not just from the Marco Rubio stuff as well. Like, just imagine a scenario in which there is, let's say, a military member who maybe they're in the administration, maybe they're not, but they've been exposed. They've seen stuff that they know isn't normal technology, but they're not read in on it. And they need someone to understand, how is this possible? I need to be able to go to meetings where people know about this stuff, and I got to be able to play along. And so, you know, you imagine, well, who are they going to call to figure out, hey, how would this stuff theoretically work? Probably someone like me. So I'm just throwing out there that I know for sure the administration knows about this. And here's the big rub about it. Why are people not making money off of it? Why are they not selling it? Why are they not making it apparent? This is national security. We can't beat around the bush on this. When you talk to Anapolina Luna and the other congressmen and stuff like that, they know it's national security as well. When those people are doing the UFO hearings, they know that the energy source is national security. The moment you see those orbs of plasma circling around the plane, in order to create the plasma ball where it's structured and not just dissipating like a lightning strike would, they've already cracked fusion. This means that they have perfect control over plasma to the point where, why are we making fusion reactors with these big metal donuts? They can make fusion happen just with a ball of plasma floating around in the sky. That's what those orbs indicate right there. This just completely, speaking of the word annihilate, annihilates the whole UFO community narrative. Is that the reason why they've been hiding this stuff isn't because of aliens. It's because they've figured out what we would call free energy. They've cracked fusion. They figured out how to get energy just from the hydrogen atom. And the way they're doing it here is something called a low energy phase transition. The crazy part is everyone thinks you need this huge amount of energy to create a wormhole. But look at the temperatures of those orbs. The temperature on that thermal, they're green, blue. They're like the background temperature. If that was like a sun or a star, it's going to be white hot. So actually, those orbs at a relatively low energy temperature or low energy level, and then they're going down instead of up when they converge on the plane. You guys can even ask Grok this. Here's the craziest part. When I asked AI about this, just fed the scenario. These are double layer plasma balls, meaning you have a positive and negative charge that are separated in your plasma ball, causing it to act like a lightning strike. When they converge, their energy levels increase, and they act like the sun, where the magnetic fields, if you look at the magnetic fields in the sun and they break and they twist, same thing's happening with those orbs. When they reconnect, there's a massive release of energy, and this causes space-time to break down. When space-time breaks down, and this is going to be very scientific, but the refractive index of the medium, the rate at which light moves through the medium, changes. And when the refractive index changes, the ground state of the hydrogen atom, so the hydrogen atom's ground state is here. When you manipulate space-time and you squish it together, the ground state of the hydrogen atom goes down. And because of this change, there's a release of energy. The previous ground state of the hydrogen atom, let's say it was 13.6. That's the ground state of the hydrogen electron. It goes down to minus 20. There's a difference now of minus 7 electron volts per electron. That is a negative energy event. So what they're doing, they're squeezing space-time down right there. What this does is it causes the energy, the ground state of the energy levels of those plasmas to go down, and this releases ultraviolet radiation. Why is that that zap black right there? Because ultraviolet radiation is not visible in thermal. That's why it's black. And in the other video, you can see a flash of light. That light being ultraviolet and black is basically the dead giveaway that this is a negative energy event. That's a real wormhole. That blow your mind?
You reference the Lockheed Martin Skunk Works, and I watched that video in show prep. And the guy says, we have Star Wars technology or Star Trek technology.
Yep.
Now, he's saying this in like the 90s or the early aughts, which like, he's not talking about laser weapons, because we've had those since the 40s and 50s. We've had weapons that can be mounted and used as laser. That's not what they're talking about. If you're talking about like an actual Star Wars or Star Trek technology, you got to be talking about, and you're not talking about space flight, because we've also been able to do that, right? Since the 60s and since actually the late 50s. And so if there's a guy who's a part of this Black Ops program telling us about 2 decades ago, we have Star Trek technology, it sure stands to reason that it'd be something like this. Not like we have a laser or we have a spaceship, because that's not something secret at all. And so then it begs the question here, Ashton, which is the applicability of this suddenly makes all militaries obsolete. Okay, so I can just take your fleet of airplanes and zap them. I can take your aircraft carrier. The aircraft carrier, obviously the most useful weapon in modern warfare. I think you could say, arguably, to project power. You could just like those become obsolete. Is that what you're saying? We could transport our weapons into mainland China, right? Like without anybody seeing or knowing. Is this the application?
Yeah. It's even crazier than that. It's hard to even fully grasp what we're talking about here, because there is absolutely no challenge to the United States if we have this weaponry, unless somebody else has this weaponry as well. Submarines, every submarine on planet Earth, its location is known exactly. This technology, we can, like with this same exact quantum technology that would be used to control the orbs, you can basically map the entire planet, including underneath the water, inside buildings, just like the Dark Knight, where they can see everything. There's no hiding anywhere. Your aircraft carriers, obsolete, useless. Your nuclear weapons, not only can we warp them and teleport them back onto you, and there's no stopping the phase transition, no stopping it showing up on you, we can hit it with a directed energy weapon from space the moment the ICBM takes off and blow up your nuke or make it inert, whatever we want to do. Nuclear weapons are not only obsolete, but they're actually a liability. If our adversaries want to make nuclear weapons, go nuts. They have absolutely no chance at all. And this is why we've basically been projecting power across the entire world for the last, 70 years. And nobody has ever even dared to challenge us, because they would get annihilated. And so why did we do that to that airplane? Everybody always asks me that. Truthfully, I don't know all the motivations, and I can't pretend to be a deep state evil person that thinks that we're going to just zap civilian airliners. But I imagine they're doing it as a show of force. I mean, sure, there's people on that plane that they don't want to get to China or the technology, but we're doing that to show our adversaries what we can do. We didn't want them to see this video, because if they see this video, they can figure it out, because I figured it out. What we wanted them to know is that we made a plane disappear, and we can make them disappear too. Because if you're Putin or you're Z or whatever, and you get on an airplane and you know that we did this to an airplane and we lied to the world about it, and everybody believed some bullshit story about going to the South Indian Ocean, you'd be terrified every time you get on an airplane. And you're not going to mess with us. And that's why Trump is going, we got stuff so far beyond them, so they're not going to do anything. That's why he's doing the shrug.
I mean, what? And the people who are building this, right? The Lockheed Skunk Works and Black Ops, the people who were presumably would be a part of the build for this, those people are saying that it's Star Trek technology. I mean, dude, they're using Star Trek, so it's like, what technology exists in Star Trek every episode, every movie? Yes,
and they're gatekeeping too. So I want to point out a few other people because people need to know, who are these people gatekeeping? Hal
Yes.
Puthoff is the #1 world's leading expert on zero-point energy. He's also the government's #1 Black Project physicist. I was talking to AARO, the one that you probably talking, you know about them, they're the UFO investigating people. The AARO guy is going like, Hal Puthoff is a legend. I like respect him and all this stuff. And I'm going, what? Why do you connect to this guy? And then the other guy is his right-hand man is Eric Davis. Eric W. Davis is the world's leading expert on warp drives and wormholes. They've got multiple papers that were declassified. Like, the government's going to come out when this is all true, and everybody starts getting mad about how they've been hiding warp drives from us. And they're just going to go, we weren't lying to you. We've been telling you. We got all these papers that are out there. You just ignored them. You said they weren't real. Salvatore Pais's patents, 5 Navy patents that explain the balls of plasma. Everybody says, oh, no, they're not real. The Navy was battling the patent office, having their lawyers say that stuff's real. The rest of the world just ignores it. So I think it's really a question of like, when are we going to wake up and when are we going to be ready? This is Tesla level technology that has been out there for 100 years. Tesla knew that this zero-point energy was out there. He called it radiant energy because it was before quantum mechanics was even a thing. Tesla invented all the power we use today, 3-phase alternating current. The secret, he told us, energy, frequency, and vibration. The frequency and vibration part is the part that we've forgotten about. We're sitting here just trying to bash things together, and what we should be thinking is like a swing. When you push a swing, do you just constantly push the swing? No. You wait for the swing to come back, and then you push the swing. Imagine if we did that with energy. Free energy.
Maybe that's why it's been kept secret, because you'd reorder the entire economy of the world in a heartbeat, right? Like you'd
imagine the implications.
Trillion dollar industry's gone. Like like that. Like, right. If you did this incorrectly, then it's like $1 trillion industry's gone forever. Right.
You have the money side of it. What would happen if we have, even if it's not absolutely free, but extremely cheap energy, 10 times cheaper than what we have right now? How many industries get wiped out overnight? What happens to the stock market? You could argue 50 or 60% of companies immediately, their future prospects go to zero because their industry is completely obsolete given this new technology. And so I like to steel man the other side of it, even though I'm on the side of disclosures. Why would they hide it? There's actually some really good reasons. You know, you could say, well, the disruption of it, the mental toll people are going to have. There are people that told me they would end their lives if it turns out that I'm right. That's a scary thought for me, just because of all the brainwashing that we've been succumbed to. And then also the part that really, I think, I'm surprised a lot of people don't understand, but I think that physicists will realize this here, if you take this to its logical extreme, the technology we're seeing, it's the end of the world. Scale this up. Why? If we can make negative energy, it's basically like cheating the laws of physics. And that basically opens the door to infinite destructive potential. So theoretically, you could make a black hole using the same exact science. And these would be the reasons why they're hiding. It's not just because they're evil. It's that they've looked at all the reasons. They said this is too disruptive. And I actually agree with them. The only reason why I still push for disclosure is because we teleported a civilian airliner. The videos leaked on the internet, and everybody's just been ignoring it. So nobody's going to probably ever face accountability for what we did to that plane. Let's just be realistic. The only punishment they may ever face is that those videos get exposed and that technology gets exposed.
Where'd the plane go?
It's a good question, and I can't obviously know for sure, but we have a pretty good idea. You guys were showing the image earlier that this plane is getting teleported to the west somewhere, not to another dimension, not to another galaxy, but somewhere else on Earth. The phones were still ringing days later, and these islanders saw the plane flying towards Diego Garcia. They were dismissed because the plane was coming from the wrong direction. But they had a very detailed sight, and they definitely saw the plane. So as you can see on this map here, we believe the plane was getting teleported to the Nicobar Islands, which was the same location where they claimed the plane just took a turn to the South Indian Ocean and just flew to the South Indian Ocean. So it's like the exact right location for some mysterious event to happen in the flight path. And then it gets teleported to the west. And we can tell there's a right-hand rule in electrical engineering that would tell us this plane should be going backwards based on the orientation of the spin of the orbs around the plane, which is, I don't know, it's speculative. But you can also see the plane in the frame before the zap opens up. You can see the plane looks like it gets pulled backwards a little bit. So it would indicate that the plane actually went backwards somewhere. Now, the best theory we have is there's a fourth orb that determines where the plane comes out. So, the plane's flying along, and the analogy would be it's flying along and then it zaps away and then it comes out over here somewhere else, right? The fourth orb, the idea would be that 3 of these orbs are negatively charged. Think of everything as positive and negative. And if you add all 3 orbs up, you imagine it gives you 1 negative charge. Then the fourth orb is 1 positive charge somewhere else, and they're entangled together. So that when the zap happens, the orbs shoot together, and then because their charges equalize, they just dissipate. So what you're left with is you have 3 orbs spinning around your plane teleports, your plane comes back out at the location of where the fourth orb was, and now all 4 orbs are gone. They've all just dissipated because of the equalized charge. That's what I think is happening here. And I think the plane somehow ended up at Diego Garcia, either was teleported directly there or teleported near there and flew down there, because the only place you can hide a plane of this size is going to be a military base. You can't hide it on any commercial airport. So either they sunk it in the water somewhere else where we've never found it, or they took it apart at that base and threw some pieces in the water that ended up showing up in Africa.
Would the people on the plane be dead when this happened? Would they be alive?
Yeah. Sadly, I think they probably were dead, because if you look at the videos and you do a deep dive in the case, you're going to find that it wasn't a pilot suicide thing or anything like that. It was a fire. It was an emergency event. There was lithium-ion batteries on the plane. That's what caused the plane to go dark. You can see the smoke in the videos. You can see the smoke coming out of the back of the plane in the videos. We had a witness that was there. Catherine T saw the smoke coming out of the back of the plane, and we had a China Times report of the plane disintegrating and attempting an emergency landing at the same time we're seeing these videos. So the problem is, if there's lithium-ion battery smoke on this plane, those passengers probably did not last for, I think it's about an hour and 20 minutes from when the plane went dark to when these videos are being taken. So sadly, while you could survive this type of wormhole event, they are humanly traversable, at least in theory. The smoke is probably the bigger danger. And that might indicate why nobody ever came forward in the last 11 years to go, hey, I was on that plane and I'm still alive. That's never happened. So I'm not here to give anybody false hope. I do not think anybody is alive, no matter what.
Okay. So because I'm not qualified to talk about the physics of all of this, and because I have to sort of zoom out here,
sure.
The ramifications of this is that you could technically usher in, if properly applied, you could just say, well, we're going to do whatever we want. It kind of seems like the attitude of the Trump administration right now. And like going back to Panama, like the Panama's a perfect example of this. Is like China just completely retreats out of Panama. Why? It makes no sense, right? Like they've already bought and paid for all the Panama Canal, and then just one trip from Pete Hegseth, a couple of meetings, and China's gone, right? And Panama's right back into like, let's make new military bases here for America. There's a lot, there's just like there's a lot of positioning that just says we have something that nobody else has. I mean, Trump literally saying it. And then to correspond with that, and I guess this would be like my last question, Ashton,
sure,
because we've covered it so much on the program. To correspond with that, we had whistleblowers on the show. We've had members of Congress. You name dropped APL. Come on here and talk about all the UFO technology, right, that exists. And we've covered those briefings, and we've had those, guys who gave testimony in Congress. Come on. Is this what they're actually seeing? Is this what like the aircraft pilots and like these videos, the UFOs like in and out of the water, like zipping around, they're all like little balls, right, or triangles? Is this what they're seeing? Yeah. Does this explain that? Does this explain UFOs?
Yeah. I mean, that's an airplane. And when people were freaking out about the drone stuff, people were taking all these pictures of airplanes going, the UFOs are morphing into airplanes. We reached mass peak hysteria. But when people are just seeing balls of light, they're most likely seeing these plasma orbs in like a glow mode where they're visible. In fact, I think the orbs can be invisible for most of the time, which is probably why we're not generally seeing them in the daytime. Infrared is not visible for the human eye. So this is a big clue on some of this stuff. And this one I think is actually just satellites as well. But yes, when people like Matt Gaetz are saying that I and only I have seen this UFO video that nobody else in Congress saw, and it was 4 balls of light in a diamond formation. That's what he's talking about. Why is that when we see these videos, we're never seeing videos of aliens? We're always just seeing a UFO. UFOs are real, and aliens are probably real. But I'm not going to believe that what I'm seeing flying around the sky is aliens until you show me the alien, until the alien comes out of the craft. What we're seeing is definitely at least partially our technology, if not mostly our technology. And it's also drones. They're not people inside these orbs and stuff like that. In fact, because of the way the technology works, because gravity manipulation is space and time manipulation, you don't even want to be in one of these UFOs. If it's manipulating space-time, making a space-time bubble, what it will do is change your dial of time. It'll change your rate of time. So it'll be like the Marvel movies where you're like Quicksilver, moving super fast, or you might be moving in super slow-mo relative to other people. Now, for your perspective, it'll always feel like you're going normal. But it'll be very disorienting if you were looking outside of a bubble and you saw everyone moving in super slow-mo. You'd wonder what's going on. So there are major implications to just the use of this technology. And then there's a huge political issue, which I would love for people like you and other podcasters to champion, which is, what is the implications of this? How do we even harness this technology from a political perspective without destroying ourselves? Peter Thiel, this is the last thought I want to leave you with, scared the hell out of me when he went on Joe Rogan, because that guy is CIA up the ass, and he definitely knows about this. And he went ahead and said, what if it is that the only way that an advanced civilization can harness warp drives and free energy without destroying themselves is if they're completely totalitarian, collectivist, in a situation where nobody has free will? Because if anybody has free will, eventually someone will destroy all of us. And I just went, oh boy, is that what we're looking at? Is that our future? Do we even want free energy if we have to give up freedom? That's what I leave to you.
Right. That's right. If everybody had a nuke, then my cousin, twice removed, it wouldn't be pretty, right? In Wichita, Kansas.
And it's worse. Imagine not just a nuke, but an app on their phone. And if they press the button on the app on their phone, bye-bye planet. Like, how long are we really going to last? If we're being realistic, right?
It's like, it's so I had at the height of the UFO hysteria, right, when it was like really ubiquitous in the news cycle. I had dinner with Tucker, and he's my old employer and a mentor, and he said, I found out what the UFOs are, and I can't tell you because it's too damn scary, and I don't want to think about it. It keeps me up at night, and I'm just scared shitless of it. And I was like, plied him the entire dinner to like tell me. And he's like, that just is what it is. And there are major spiritual ramifications. And so I'm like, okay, well, maybe they're demons, and and maybe that could be maybe angels and demons, but like, so maybe it's this, right? And and the implications are, that like we've just discovered the technology to destroy ourselves, right? We've harnessed the capacity we've become smart enough to just kill ourselves off. So, yeah.
And the point is too, like, I don't know where the origin of this is. I think that's kind of the fun part of this this whole saga is like, even you find out about this advanced technology, where did we get it? Aliens, previous civilization, future humans, another dimension, ghosts, angels? I don't know. So I would just say that the best thing we can do is keep it grounded in physics and grounded in the evidence and observation as best we can do, as opposed to running rampant with speculation. So hopefully today's conversation helped you out, helped your viewers out, and thank you, Benny, for having me.
It's amazing. Maybe they found it in the massive tunnels under the pyramids, Ashton. You ever thought about that?
Maybe.
Okay. Ashton Forbes, ladies and gentlemen, has 270,000 subscribers on X. You should be one of them. He also has a YouTube channel. If we could click through on that and make sure that you're following him there. And it's just sure as fun to chat with you. I mean, why not, right? Like these are the kind of conversations that has certainly left my entire production team enraptured, and I'm sure the chat and the audience. Ashton, you're welcome back anytime. I really hope that you're right here, meaning like it'd be It'd be neat. It'd be neat to see, right? It'd be neat to have. It'd be neat to see like what this all means. Why not, right?
We're going to go with it anyway. I kind of hope I'm wrong, but you know what? We'll see.
Yeah, well, it's not really up to us. So
yeah. Leave it to the big man.
That's right. That's exactly right. The God who created the laws of physics. And if you read the Bible, the laws of physics are regularly bent by God. So who knows? Ashton, Godspeed to you, sir.
Thank you, Benny.
We had the White House Faith Council on, and I just feel like I've gone through a spiritual experience there with that interview. Like, talk about the projection and use of faith in your work. It's very interesting. I always do those kind of interviews by saying, "Hey, listen, I don't pretend to be the expert, but I can guarantee you that I am pro free speech and definitely pro free thought, and that's the only way that you actually find truth, is asking the right questions." So let's find some truth together, shall we, with our verse of the day. John 11:25. I am the resurrection and the life. Whoever believes in me, though he die, yet shall he live. Our Lord and Savior, Christ Jesus, crucified on the cross, the same power that raised Christ from the dead. Who knows what it is? Is it dark, negative plasma energy? It's just the power of God is what it is, the creator of the universe. That dwells within you. And so embrace that today, ladies and gentlemen. This has been a fun show. Got a lot to think about. It's your boy, Benny. Great to march with you. Let's go save the world together. See ya.
Red line on the transporter, Mr. Scott. Transporter, do not engage. It's too late. We're beaming now.
Do you read me, Starfleet? Override us! Pull them back!
Starfleet, boost your mat again. We need more signal. Oh my God.
Truth gon' be faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to life. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade. Cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade. With the warrior's heart, this man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light. Bringing liberty to life. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade. Cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade. With the warrior's heart, this man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light.